Harrisonville, and he is going to talk to us about Stratfit. So.
Good morning. So today I'm going to introduce the concept of strategic fitness, better known as Stratfit. So who am I and why should you listen to me about fitness and technology? Well, I'm Daniel, the founder of Stratfit, and I am certified by Westside Barbell as a special strengths coach. That's the top powerlifting club in the United States. And I'm certified by USA Weightlifting as a sports strength coach. That's the organizational body for Olympic lifting in the United States. And I have over 20 years in the field of personal training, training clients from all across the spectrum, from businessmen and women, to models, to actors, to serious bodybuilders, to serious athletes. So a little bit of the backstory of what Stratfit is. The very genesis of Stratfit came from my intensive study of the foundational text of physical training science. The most important works in that area is Super Training by Yuri Verkhoshansky, Managing the Training of Weightlifters by M.D. Laputin, The Science of Sports Training by Thomas Kurz, and The Science and Practice of Strength Training by Vladimir Zafziorsky. By delving deeply into these works across a period of years, I came upon a big idea, that someone could create an entire system of applied science and technology for physical training, and that has been my purpose in life ever since. So let's take a look at some of the problems that we could solve for trainers with this system of science. Well, when I was a rookie trainer, the main problem that I had was I really didn't know what I needed to know, I didn't know what I needed to keep track of, and I really didn't know how to keep track of anything in general. And that always kept me somewhat inconsistent with my clients' performance. As I became more experienced and I started to gather knowledge, I realized just how difficult and time consuming that it was for me to do so, and I thought for most rookie trainers out there needs to be a better way. When I had become more experienced and I really gained some knowledge, I realized the problem was going to be implementation. All the knowledge that I had gained, there was really no way for me to implement that in real time in my practice on the gym floor every day, and we needed a new form of technology to do so. And I also realized that no matter how much expertise I had gained, I was always going to suffer from a lack of scalability. As trainers, we're shackled to 8 to 12 hours of gym floor time per day to earn our income, and I thought, as serious scientific professionals, we can do better. So let's take a look at the training problems side of the equation that we can solve with the system of science. So for your average gym member in 2022, the problem is limited time and funds. Everyone is busy these days, and we only have so much time and energy that we can spend on our health and well-being, and everyone needs to get the most out of that, what they invest in that. And right now, most people are not. For elite athletes, the problem is unpredictable performance. Their entire careers depend on knowing when they will peak according to the training and competitive schedule, and right now there's no technology that allows them to do that in a really precise way. So what is the solution to all these problems? Well, the solution is the training science super system. The first component of that super system is called Stratfit Digital, which has 2 subcomponents as well. The first is called the Training Design Drive. That's on our website, where strength and conditioning coaches, personal trainers, and fitness influencers can design training and diet strategies. And that's backed up by my system of science that helps them to optimize all the training variables in real time as they design the training set strategy. We then allow them to publish it into our strategy store in our user app, and that's where their athletes, clients, and followers can connect with the strategy and use it in the gym. So a little bit more about how the app actually works in the gym during training. Well, pre-training, we take in the user's biometric and training level data, and with that information, we estimate their training maximum for over 70 exercises, and help them to choose the right training strategy based on their training purpose and their training stage. Once training begins, the auto-regulation system takes over and auto-regulates all of the training variables in real time based on the user's moment-to-moment feedback during the session. And post-training, we offer a detailed system of analytics to let the trainee know where they've been, where they're going, and to keep them motivated. And just by using this entire Stratfit digital system, rookie trainers can gain knowledge naturally and by osmosis. So the second area of our, a second subcomponent area of our training super system is our revolutionary catalog of training equipment. The first offering in that area is called the Power Training Arsenal, which has 2 subcomponents. The first is the explosive strength device. That's the actual device that I have here for you today. And the way that works is this right here connects onto the barbell on both sides. There's weight added to it, a certain amount according to what the trainer wants. And then right when that will touch the bottom of the floor, when the lift reaches the bottom position of the lift, that on both sides will automatically unload. This allows for overloaded eccentrics, causing an explosive neurological pattern out of the bottom of the exercise to explode on the way back up. The second subcomponent of the power training arsenal is the acceleration strength device. Those are the chains you see hanging there from the barbell. The way that works is, as the barbell starts to move back up, the chain progressively reloads onto the barbell, causing the force to increase. This causes the lifter's neurological system to fire an accelerating force production pattern. That's another component of power. And this entire system is controlled by Stratfit Digital, and it is designed and manufactured in Kansas City, Missouri. So we're coming into a huge market that's primed for disruption with this super system. When we look at the fitness industry revenue as a whole in 2019, it stood at $97 billion, and it's been growing at a rate of 3% per year. And the fitness app market alone stood at $14 billion in 2021 and is projected to grow to a massive $120 billion by 2030. That will completely eclipse the entire fitness industry as of today. So let's look at trainers by the numbers, because that's a very important metric for us, because they will be our first adopters to use our training design drive. There will be over 30,000 personal training jobs in the US by 2026, and there are already 14,000 serious strength and conditioning coaches employed here in the United States currently. Those are the trainers for serious sports teams, boxing clubs, and so on and so forth. So let's take a look at the competitive landscape that we're coming into. As I see it right now, we have three top competitors. The first is Trainerize, and their strong suit is they have a very good end user interface for the training in the gym. It's very sleek, it's very easy to use and intuitive. And a second is Freeletics, and they're a calisthenics-based training app, and I think that's their strong point. You don't need any other equipment, you can train from home. But that's also what holds that app back somewhat, because you can only progress so far with your physical training with bodyweight training only. And our most direct competitor that I see right now is Traineroic, and their strong point is they have very extensive variable prescription, which makes them very legitimate to serious strength and conditioning coaches, which we think will be our very first adopters. So with that being said, what sets us above the competition? Well, what sets us above is the fact that we are the applied science of training, and everything that works is a product of technology and science. To illustrate that point, on this slide I used what I thought was the most primordial example of that, which would be ancient humanity using stones as tools, and how this would lead via the scientific method across millennia to the construction of the modern metropolis. All of our competitors lie somewhere along this evolution in terms of fitness and science technology. Most of them towards the top side of the right side of the top line, some of them towards the left side of the bottom line. But I believe that Stratfit will be the entire metropolis. So a couple examples of how we're doing that. Well, the first is we have come up with a much more rigorous way to define the physiological abilities and attributes that we train in training. And that's in terms of the textual definition and also the exact intensity and rep range required to peak those abilities for performance. And our most foundational concept is that of the internal training load. The training load is a qualitative and quantitative combination of the intensity and amount in training. Up until now, those two variables have always been looked at separately, but we've combined them into one integral value that will totally change the training programming game. So let's look at the go-to-market challenge that we're probably going to face with bringing this to the market. The first is the fact that our initial adopters, those serious strength and conditioning coaches, are traditionally kind of a stubborn professional demographic. Most of them are very good at what they do, they have good methods, and people that are already good at what they do usually are very adverse to new ideas and to change. The second is the fact that although we're coming into a huge market, it's also crowded, so right now we're trying to elbow our way into a crowded room. And the third is the fact that everybody in the fitness industry likes to use the word science. It's probably the most used word in this industry. And we're the real deal, so how do we separate from the pack and stand above? And that's going to be a challenge for our marketing. And the fourth is somewhat related to the third. It's the fact that historically, with any new ideas, new art forms, new forms of technology, new ways of doing things in general, there's always somewhat an amount of friction in the initial part of the growth adoption curve. And we got to figure out how do we reduce that and take off as fast as possible and get out there. So with all of that being said, I hope you all found this informative, and maybe even more so, I hope you found it inspirational. Thank you for listening.
Who's got some questions?
Do you have brochures or anything like that, cards?
I got business cards, yes.
So what does the black thing do?
That's actually the storage case for this. We ship it and it's stored in there.
Okay.
Yeah, so little backstory on this. They sell these at the hardware store in Harrisville, which is my hometown, just south of Kansas City, right here in Connecticut, Providence, or Harrisville. And they're refurbished missile containers. are not refurbished, they're decommissioned by the military, so they just get rid of them as scrap metal. And so I was like, I think that would fit in there pretty perfectly, So like I bought it, just painted it black, and actually, the final ones look a lot better than this. This is the very first one I put stickers on. Now I got stencils that are a little bit bigger. I'm spray painting it on there, and it looks a lot cooler. So, yeah.
So where are you at in this process? Like, are you still in like, tell us more about that.
Okay, so on the digital side, the user app minimum viable product exists. So to tell you like a lot more of the backstory, well, I'm not gonna say a lot, but a big chunk. So I was actually living up until 2020 for 8 years. I lived in the country of India, and I was training actors there, movie stars, and I was training some athletes as well. And one of them was a very influential guy there. He wanted to invest in the project. So we put an office there. We hired a tech team. We did all of that. We developed an app that's pretty good. But then the training design drive part, the website portal for the coaches, it just wouldn't work well enough. So I kind of had to scrap it. And so now I'm trying to get funding to redevelop that part. And then as far as this side goes, the machine shop in Harrisville is supposed to give me the demo version Friday. So, and it's patented as of last week. So that's where that is at. And I'm gonna start demoing it like, we're gonna try to put it together Friday probably. Let's see.
Is your primary demographic established and elite athletes? Do you have anything for baseline?
We have everything, because see, if you have a system, let's say, now not a training program, but like what this is essentially is a training program kind of design system. It helps a coach to sort of lay all the variables out in a really methodical way and see what's going to happen. Well, if you have a system like that will work for elite athletes, developing Olympic athletes for peaking them across a 4-year Olympic cycle, well then obviously you can use the same tool for a much simpler kind of program. So like for developing a program for just like a layman who's wanting to just stay in shape, you're dealing with a lot of the same variables, just it's not as complex, So the exact same thing could be used for them, and the app is very simple to use for anyone in the gym. No problem.
The only reason I ask is because as a gym owner who works with a layperson who wants to stay in shape, the way that the presentation comes across is that you're primarily looking at elite athletes, which makes me wonder, like, whenever you're going into the science aspect of, like you were talking about, one of the things you might come against with marketing, is that going to also relate to people that are not at the elite level? You know what I'm saying? Because not everybody who's not an elite athlete understands that elitist things can be kind of knocked down to a lower level. Not everybody can understand that is the case.
I mean, that a lot of that's just going to do with kind of marketing language. You know what I mean? Like with certain commercials from the same company are kind of aimed at different demographics. All companies kind of do that. So we're probably going to have something like that. I mean, I've always known that. Like, so if I'm trying to reach out and market to a serious strength and conditioning coach who's going to know what a lot of these kind of technical terms mean, we're probably going to word the same idea in a certain way, and then we might convey that even to a personal trainer, but it's not like a really, scientifically versed as a strength and conditioning coach. We're probably going to talk to that trainer differently, and then all the way on down to the average gym client, we're going to kind of talk mainly just about. I think everyone knows that if what you're doing is more organized, no matter what it is, it's more effective, no matter how simple it is. You know what I mean? Like I would say, like in your house, your silverware drawer is a pretty simple thing. There really isn't any reason why you couldn't just throw them all out on the counter and use them from there. But we all know that doesn't work that well. And if you start doing that very many days in a row, it's going to work really not well, because the stuff's going to end up here and there, and now you're not going to be able to find a spoon. So even very simple things, you know what I mean? The more well organized they are, the better they work. So how do we get that point out there? I'm not sure. Now, I do kind of communicate probably in this way that maybe it does seem very kind of high level right now, but that's actually is our first adopter kind of crowd. So I think for right now, my opinion is that it makes sense to communicate that way more. Draw in those serious strength and conditioning coaches, kind of develop whatever I want to say, like a little army of them, and then kind of broaden out from there, I think is gonna be the right way, because that demographic also will help me figure out the communication. You know what I mean? 'Cause it'll be more minds that, okay, they'll understand what I'm doing. Now they'll say, okay, here's how I would communicate that with my clients or my athletes or other coaches that I know that I'm mentoring. You know what I mean? So probably there'll be a lot of fruit from that as well.
He's got another question. All right.
So I want to see if I understand. So basically, a personal trainer would join your program and create their own profile in there, design their own workout in there.
Correct.
Your software optimizes that workout. Then any person could go on to the platform and pay to use that trainer's specific workout.
Correct.
So what's the revenue split look like from the personal trainer that joins? Basically, you're creating a platform that allows them to become a personality essentially. And then like your software in the background is optimizing everything. And then it's allowing somebody in Phoenix could partner with a trainer in Joplin.
Correct.
And then they're self-reporting within the app as their workout's going along, how they're doing.
Mhm.
And so the trainer can monitor them.
The trainer doesn't even have to do that. That's the beautiful thing of it. Now, we're thinking we're gonna give some option where you could get like a God's eye view if you wanted to of everyone using your program. That way, we maybe have like some kind of incentive thing where if you want, like if a user wants the trainer to see what happened, he can then zero in on it, like through our server somehow. But right now, see, it should auto-regulate everything. The server should do that. It's not really, I say artificial intelligence, but really it's just a kind of a complex algorithmic computational system that just knows what to do when things happen. So it shouldn't require someone to look. So there could be 1 million people using it. You could be in Joplin, there's 1 million people all over the world using it, and you're making money from all their subscriptions. Now, the way the revenue split breaks down is we're keeping, okay, so Apple or Google is gonna take 30%. That's the deal. Then we're gonna give 70% of that remaining 70% to the trainer, and then we're keeping 30. At least that's what we're thinking right now. That's the way it works on the spreadsheet, so. Yeah. And then I was gonna say also something you said at the beginning, when the program is being designed, right now, the software is not exactly optimizing it. It's just showing the trainer a lot more sort of variable readouts as they're designing it to let them optimize it. Now in the future, we might, you know, as we get more and more along the lines with like, you know, AI, machine learning and so on, we probably can automate a lot more of that. But right now, we're just giving way more kind of readout and what's the word for that? Analytics as the trainer's designing the program, let them see exactly what's probably gonna happen when the trainee is training with the program.
Right, so back to your ask. So I read your business plan and I read the appendix with your financial projections. And it seems very optimistic to me in terms of your revenue growth over the next 2 to 3
Yeah.
years. Have you, so I've pitched businesses at a high level to, you know, VC and, you know, private equity firms and all the things. And generally, what I find is a little bit longer spectrum on the forecasts and models. Have you gotten any feedback yet? It's your revenue growth is, I mean,
Yeah, to tell you something, I just looked at that on the spreadsheet a couple days ago, and I realized actually it was a mistake, like literally in the math. So I left it, the churn wasn't added, so it was like, I mean, I was kind of like, well, you know, and then I was sitting looking at it with another guy, and he's like, well, I guess we're optimistic, you know what I mean? So, but then I looked at it, and I would say the growth is still good, it's still gonna be attractive. But when I changed it, the first couple of years are a lot more conservative, and then the third year it starts to really kind of compound. I changed that, so it's now probably more, and then I gotta change the business plan, so I gotta go back to the live plan to
yeah,
do it all.
I would work on that. The other thing, the churn stated was only 3%, but it's typically 13% is like the gold standard. It's generally emphasized 50%.
Yeah.
On subscription-based churn. It depends on if it's monthly versus annualized payouts.
Mhm.
But I would try and be more, not pessimistic, but more realistic. And I mean, I think the product's great. I like the brand. I like the idea. I think that the real value is building that platform.
Mhm.
I mean, that's how, you know, Uber and Airbnb,
Yeah.
all the things. And there's not really a centralized platform for fitness training. And so I think it's a good idea. It's interesting.
Yeah.
But I would maybe try and build out a more realistic sense of growth, because like
Yeah.
your ask seems reasonable. I don't know what the equity share that you're selling is.
Yeah.
I don't know what a cap table looks like, and who owns your business currently and how much you're giving away. But it seems reasonable to me, but just as I'm going through analyzing it, you know.
Yeah, I think if you saw the numbers that I changed now, you'd
Yeah,
probably
cool,
think
yeah.
a lot different, yeah.
So that's just.
And then to say there is someone doing something, I recently realized there's a company called Bridge Athletic, and they're partnered with Duke and Cal, and I think the Milwaukee Bucks. And a lot of coaches are using them. Now I looked at them pretty closely. As far as like where the trainer designs the training program, they're pretty good. I'll be honest, but the way that I calculate like the training load is very unique and very complex. Like I have 5 white papers on my website right now, total like 170 pages. So it's very detailed. It starts off from Philippine's chart.
Yeah,
You know,
I
yeah, I went through that. And so I don't think they're doing what I want to do as well, but they're doing something pretty good in it, and it's kind of proof of concept because they're already successful. But they don't really have any auto regulation technology for the training in the gym, so the coach still has to see all of it. You know what I mean? And for every single person who's using that program, they might be using it through an app, but then the trainer has to see it and do something to regulate it. I'm trying to eliminate that because I realize like if you're controlling all of these minute variables to peak someone for performance, it's almost impossible for one human being to regulate all of it because all is happening in real time, kind of moment to moment, and it's hard to even do that for one person. To do it for a lot is like, it's literally impossible. So I'm trying to kind of bypass that.
The last point of feedback that I would have is potentially thinking about splitting the company into 2 companies.
Mm-hmm.
You have your hardware side and your software side.
That's the concept, yeah.
There's a lot of investors, tech investors specifically, that hate hardware.
Mhm.
And so you are gonna have to find the right investors that are open to both,
Yeah.
which is gonna be a real uphill climb. But if you have it split, I mean, if the hardware takes off, it's patented and it is valuable, but it's very, very, very capital intensive to grow that side of the
Yes,
company.
it is, yeah.
Whereas your SaaS side will scale real quickly. You have a lot higher returns there, and you could potentially start there, raise there, and get that platform off the ground, and then invest those revenues back into the hardware side and almost fund that yourself.
Do you think, do they need to have different names or just different legal entities?
I mean, you could have the same
We'll get
general
pretty boring
brand,
here,
yeah, you know, and it could be.
It just has to be separate as far as the
I
share.
think so, yeah, because if I'm looking to come in, I don't wanna come into your hardware stuff. It looks neat but it sounds wildly expensive to me. And I don't want, but I know, the software side has a lot of value in building out that platform. And once it's built and developed, maintaining that is very inexpensive and it's infinitely scalable.
Yeah.
And so this is, you know,
Well, I'll tell you I hope I'm not killing anyone's questions here. Me and I are just in a conversation now, but so I'll tell you where this came from was actually I was looking for funding options and I contacted a marketing firm called Rain Factory in New York City, and they specialize in doing successful Kickstarter campaigns or crowdfunding campaigns. So I called, I told them the whole thing, we had an introductory call and all that. And they said, yeah, your digital thing sounds very interesting, like just them saying their opinion. But then they said, you know, for crowdfunding, digital products alone don't really work very well. People like physical products in the crowdfunding world. So then literally just because of that, I had this idea and I was like, let me try, you know, and then one of my friends is a really good engineer, so I went and sat with him, I drew it out, and I said I needed to do this, and he said, I think I can do it. So he and I made that one in his machine shop ourselves, and then I've just noticed though, it's flashy, so it gets a lot of attention, you know what I mean, like everywhere I go, like people are like, wow, you know, and then I already got like UMKC and CMSU, Turner Boxing in Kansas City, all of them are like, yeah, as soon as you get that demo version, bring it here and you can do a demo immediately. So it's getting my foot in the door, you know what I'm saying? Where we go with it, I'm not exactly sure, but you're right, it's expensive, for sure.
Another interesting idea might be white labeling the tech to take advantage of, for example, Chris Hemsworth has Center, which is a full on, you know, and it would be really interesting if you could position the product in a way where your technology is essentially letting any user anywhere have access to Chris Hemsworth's brain.
Mhm.
And so he would do pre-recorded videos and things, and as your software optimizes a workout, that celebrity trainer can pop up and give them the feedback through their branded app. It's just your tech on the back end
Yeah.
enabling that.
Yeah.
And so that is super interesting to me. Like I said,
Yeah.
I think that you've got some cool.
Yeah, I think that's white label, we've talked about that quite a bit, how to do that, correct, yep.
Anybody else? All right, good deal.
I do have a question. What's your plan for growth? Like, how are you gonna reach the trainers?
Well, I mean, we need to get a marketing budget, first of all, you know, and to really do that. Now, I've been planning, like I was just telling him, on letting this device do a lot of the kind of, not to use a funny training term, but heavy lifting for me. So, like I said, if I send somebody a picture of that, they're immediately like, yeah, come right now, you know? So I'm planning to go with that, start demoing that in all the big gyms that I can, all the colleges in the area. I'm reaching out to MUKU, CMSU, et cetera, you know. I'm gonna go to all of them and show that to them, and then just kind of, you know, as I'm there, go through that, show that, and I have a lifter who's going with me, a Olympic lifter who's gonna be under the bar, and I'll be basically operating the thing. And then, you know, just talking about what I'm doing and trying to just kind of expand that way, build a network like that and see where it goes. As far as growth after, like, we have the product and so on, yeah, then there's probably a marketing budget, then, you know, your more kind of classical internet ads, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, et cetera, LinkedIn. And then just still kind of more touring, you know, I mean, once I have the digital product in hand, I'll be going to multiple gyms every single day, probably.
So physically, is the game plan to reach?
Initially,
Really?
yeah. I mean,
It's just a lot of time.
It is,
You're gonna
yes.
save a lot of time by not doing that and developing, and maybe reaching out to like ASM or several different certification groups that
yeah, that's a good idea as well.
certify everybody.
Yeah.
And then
Have,
maybe like tie that to.
Yeah.
To reach those personal trainers. 'Cause there's gotta be some kind of like a list.
Yeah.
Personal trainers like
Yeah,
global.
good idea.
honestly.
Yeah, that probably is. There's a big list, I'm sure. So, yeah, I'm definitely gonna look into those kind of options too, direct mailing and so on, yeah, for sure.
Definitely like some affiliate marketing,
Yeah,
some.
Yeah, I gotta figure out all those things.
TikTok guys.
yeah,
That can do a dance and sell your stuff.
yeah. Oh, definitely we're gonna do that for sure. I mean, that, yeah, all of that I've thought of as well. That's kind of, I kind of thought you meant like a little bit higher level, but yeah, those direct stuff, absolutely. I'm gonna probably contact them directly and see what we gotta do to get them to play ball. There's actually a couple of apps now, I think, where you literally can go and like, it's right there, how much it costs to like contact this influencer, and they absolutely go there and read it and get you in touch with them. Because in the past, I tried to contact them like directly with an Instagram message, well, they get 200 Instagram messages every day and they don't even read them, so. But now there's actually more direct channels, so I'm definitely gonna do that, thank you. Any more? Hello?
Yeah, so I'm gonna do the 1 million cups question, like, what specifically do you need from us?
You know, what I've been saying, okay, so this is like my 6th rodeo here. So, you know, like if anyone if you have a skill, if you have an area of knowledge that you think can really help me in whatever way, just feel free to contact me, get my card before I leave and stay in touch. And, yeah, whatever you can do, you know, I mean, I think what anyone can do, they're the one who knows that, you know what I mean, not me. So, I mean, right now you can see I'm looking for, probably looking for tech partners, and looking for investment and trying to figure out how to go about that in the best way. So anyone, especially those areas, anyone who has, you know, expertise or knowledge in that area, I'm all ears, for sure.
So that was gonna be my question too, is what can we do as a community? But with all these things you got going on, what's your number one thing you're really focusing on? You know,
Okay,
with all-
right at this very moment of this date, yeah, like I said, the machine shop is giving me the parts to 2 of these Friday. It was supposed to be Monday, so I got kind of my parade rained on Monday morning when they said the machine was broken. So yeah, I'm getting them Friday. So my very first thing is getting those 2 things put together and then getting demos going. Like I'm probably gonna go to Turner Boxing like Monday if I can. We're gonna see if, you know, we gotta get them put together, go and test them. Hopefully the parts don't have to go back to the machine shop. And then I'm gonna start just getting out there. Turner Boxing, by the way, is The main trainer is a gentleman named John Brown, who's the founder of Ringside Boxing. That's a equipment company out of Kansas City. It's probably the biggest one in the world, maybe Everlasting bigger, I'm not sure. And like he was in Tommy Morrison's corner when he won the world title in '93 from George Foreman. He's a huge name in boxing. So I'm gonna go present for him and at his gym, as soon as I get it. So I'm really just trying to get out there with that and trying to let that kick up some dust, for lack of a better term, and start seeing what's happening. So.
Post some videos of that, I don't understand.
Yeah, I've got to get, okay, if I go into that for a couple one, so let me go and take that. And sometimes I say that very well, other times I don't during the presentations. I think today I was a little bit off with it, but, so we're gonna shoot the trailer video as soon as we get the 2. So, the way it works is this will click, you can probably naturally see, that clamps on the bar. And it's on the very end on both ends. This adjusts, there's a rod in there. This adjusts via a pin according to the lifter's height and what the lift is. Now, you can put weight on here, so you overload the eccentric portion of the repetition, the lowering part, like on squat and bench press, what it's mainly made for. Now, when this just kisses the floor, you're gonna see that moves up in there a little bit. It doesn't even have to go all the way up, it just goes up. It hits a switch that makes that pop. So that both of these come off the barbell at the exact same time, a wire connects them. So a lifter does like an overload eccentric or really heavy, like maybe 120% maximum lowering the barbell. At the bottom, say you have 25% on this one, 25% on the other one, 50% of the weight comes off. So naturally what happens if you're carrying something heavy and it falls, right? You're like, take off running.
It's like auto drops.
It's an auto drop. I've not used that term before, but I just call it automatic unloading. So after an overload
Like it helps
eccentric.
people control the weight they're lifting?
No.
What?
No, it doesn't. So it just allows you to, because you can lower a heavier weight than you could raise, right? Makes sense? Like under control. If a weight's on your back, you're squatting, you could control down like in 4 seconds more weight than you could come back up with. Does that make sense? It definitely does to all the training people. So, your nervous system is going to integrate against that level of force. Okay, it's going to develop integration to oppose that force. So when you reach the bottom of the lift, the motor cortex and the nervous system is expecting to have to overcome that force. What happens is, right when this touches the floor, that pops open, this thing is off the bar with 0 friction. This one and the one on the other end. So say 50% of the weight is off. So what happens is when your nervous system or your whole body hits that weight, as if it's say 200 pounds and now it's only 150, that bar is gonna fly with super maximal power. Does it make sense?
What does that do though?
It trains
To your
power.
body,
It
like-
trains power, like high power. Like your nervous system learns to produce power like at higher and higher levels if you
Well,
train.
what does that do? Like, does it like help your nervous system like form better connections?
Yeah, I mean, that's what's happening.
Like,
Yeah, a rate of force development in the nervous system.
More quickly or more consistently or like?
More powerfully.
I don't know what that means.
You know what power means?
Well, like, how does that translate to what it does for my body?
Makes you.
Well, like, okay, if you're a boxer, you could punch a lot harder. If you're, yeah, I mean, okay, I thought that was implicit in the word power. Like soccer, you can kick harder. You know what I mean? Basketball, you can jump higher. Those are all power-based movements. Yeah.
I have a question. So anyone who uses your app, say in the future, whatever the format of that happens to be like, whether you're talking about like, he's talking about having a general personal trainer where multiple people can access that, whatever. Anyone who uses this app has to have this piece of equipment?
No, that's just for a special explosive strength training. So if you don't want to do that, you don't have to have it.
Okay.
Now, like, we're probably gonna have like explosive training, overloaded eccentric variable prescription in the training design drive. So we would have something there that would tell the trainer, like, yeah, the person's gonna need to have that device in order to do that. So they would have to enable that, with this device. But otherwise, no. I mean, because eventually they're gonna be able to make like running training programs just for marathon as well. So it's not just only in the like weight room. So, it's gonna be according, you can really design anything in the training design drive, and the app prescribe any kind of training program.
Tell me how this is different than something like, I'm just gonna dumb it way down, okay? Beachbody on Demand,
Mhm.
Body Fit apps. All of these where people can access the app, they can pay the monthly fee, they can download, if they want to, hundreds of workouts where they can do
Mhm.
stuff at home with a trainer that maybe has multiple options for different variables depending on what your goals are. How is this ultimately going to be different from those things?
Well, like Beachbody, none of those, there's no concept of a training maximum in them. So like your training maximum for bench press is like your 1RM, right? Same thing for squat, deadlift, any kind of barbell or dumbbell lift, you have a theoretical at least 1RM. Even for running, you have like a speed 1RM for like 100 meters. For jumping, you have like a vertical 1RM and so on. In order to prescribe training in a way and know what's gonna happen across time, it's gonna have to be relative to your own maximum for all the exercises done. Otherwise, I have no idea what's gonna happen. And neither does Beachbody don't either. So they're prescribing some video and say, do this. Well, two different people, that can have very different effects according to, their current developmental levels. So they're not doing any kind of regulation. You know what I mean?
So your trainers or whoever is working into, like, as a part of your app, are reaching out to people one-on-one?
No.
Because how can they also monitor them? This is what I'm asking.
The
right?
artificial intelligence in the app does it. So yeah, we didn't exactly get into that, but that screen was on that one slide. So like, the trainer's gonna design the training program, and they're gonna put intensities and reps into it. Right now, we'll forget about running and all that. They're gonna prescribe intensities and reps per set. So now that intensity is gonna be relative to the 1RM of the individual using the app finally. So one, let's say the trainer is prescribed a set of bench press 80% by 4 reps. Well, if someone's 1RM is 100 pounds, that's gonna be 80 pounds by 4 reps. If their 1RM is 200 pounds, that's gonna be 160 pounds by 4 reps. Now those are both qualitatively the same thing, but they're gonna quantitatively be different according to the strength of the individual using the program. Now what the app will then do is, after that set, it will ask the user, either one of those, both of them, so how many reps were you able to complete? The user's gonna tell them voice or touch. And then we'll see how many more reps do you feel you could have done if it was maximal. And then according to those two numbers added together, it's gonna auto-regulate the training maximum. So that's what a trainer would do, you know what I mean? So a good trainer. So it's automatically doing that. Now see, Beachbody and all them, they're just saying everybody get in your living room and
Maybe I
jump
should
around
have
and
just said
stuff, right?
body
It's
fit,
like-
because body fit's more like that, so
Okay.
maybe I should have left out Beachbody. 'Cause
It's like
Beachbody,
tonal. It's like tonal in the weight room. Like tonal is the magnetic at-home
That thing,
workout
yeah.
that adjusts in real time based on how you're doing.
Yeah.
With weight, it's like that, but it's in the weight room.
Yeah, which with the barbell, you can use the barbell and dumbbells, which are a lot more effective than all those hooked up machines and also, yeah, did you have something?
Oh, I was just like, so for the end user doing the workouts, like as part of their onboarding, would they calibrate it? But then you kind of answered it where it's like they're kind of self-calibrating after they do the workout.
That's a good question.
But then you could then like take those and then re-optimize. So then like the training plan becomes just like a recipe, and then what they can do and output in their own body is like,
Yeah, it's like a recipe, like you're taking the same recipe, do you wanna cook for 1 person or 1,000?
yeah.
You
but
gotta
then
increase
can
it or,
augment and,
you know what I mean, but it's the same
adjust it.
ratio.
I get it now.
And now the way, that's a good question, it leads to something interesting. So as far as a little bit of kind of like how I call this applied mathematical science. So to come up with the initial training maximums, that was part of that one slide where all the app screens. So the app is gonna ask them, what is your height, weight, age, and sex? And then between those two things, it's gonna say, okay, it's gonna take international standards and estimate your training maximum for 70 exercises. And I have a system that I use the international standards to, there's not international standards for all of those, but I web them in kind of an intelligent way based on other people's work and so on. And then, so it's gonna get those initial ones, right, from that. Then then it has to ask your training level. So, and you have to estimate, and it'll tell you, if you're doing this, you're considered untrained. If you're doing this, you're novice. If you're this, you're intermediate, and so on. Once you pick that, it generates all the training maximums. Then in case it's not right, because of course that's gonna be somewhat approximate. As soon as you start training, whatever exercise in your program, the very first set is gonna fix it via that method that we're talking about. So it gets people going in an intelligent way, whether there's a trainer there at all or not.
All right, let's give them a round of applause.